Hey, welcome to our session today on omnichannel marketing. Just so you're aware, we're recording, so we can obviously share this. I suspect that there may be some that are watching this recording now that weren't able to actually make the day. So omnichannel, let me just make sure I am sharing my screen with you. Just want to make sure that you can all see my screen. So just put a hand up or a thumbs up in terms of that you can see the presentation, which I don't think you can at the moment. So we will share the screen, and here it comes. So that should be the screen. Everyone now should be able to see the screen. Okay, so let me just introduce you to the platform. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see that there is a menu on the right-hand side, which allows you to jump into the chat, questions and answers. We'll have the chat open out throughout, and Sam, who is helping in the background, will help to orchestrate any conversation. So if you pop any chats in there, Sam will let me know that there is a question, and towards the end, I'll go in there and actually dive into any of those questions and make sure that you go away with some answers. There is also some handouts at the appropriate moment. I'm going to share a handout that you can actually work on as we go through this afternoon. And then at the end of today, I've got basically a quick marketing plan guide and something to help actually with a slightly more comprehensive marketing plan, which again, I'll hand out or we'll follow up with an email, depending on how that goes. Okay, so omnichannel marketing. What is omnichannel marketing all about? Well, I think in the very first instance, so one thing to remember on this when we look at omnichannel marketing is effectively is a holistic approach to your digital marketing platform. An holistic approach to your digital marketing and a platform. I'm going to give you some insights in terms of what that looks like as a definition. But it's effectively, if you think about all of the different platforms, we're going to talk about them over the next 40 minutes to an hour or so. All of those different platforms that you utilize in marketing, so social media, the browsers, Google and Bing, your website, and then other digital I guess, tools that you can use. So email, newsletters, SEO, pay-per-click. We align those all so that effectively, that there is a constant communication that is kind of seamless across all of the platforms and all points in the direction of your website. Now, the big companies do this really well, and you'll know that because you're getting emails that are automated coming through on what you didn't even realize you were looking for. You get responses from your weekly shop, from your supermarkets, but it's not outside of the reach of, I guess, the normal business. And all we've got to do is start to approach our marketing in a slightly different context. Where are we at the moment? More often than not on marketing, you're probably familiar with multi-channel marketing. And that's where we look at everything in its own specific channel. So we have a channel that we're focusing on our social media or our social media platforms. There's even a channel that we focus on our website or on our content and the message that we're sending out. We send out leaflets independently. We might be in printed magazines. And that's kind of almost the traditional way that we look at marketing. Each area of marketing is its own strategy. Now, the challenge with that is it's not too sewn up when we start to look at this in the context of actually reaching out to a wider audience. So today I want to focus on the omnichannel, and I think the first point that I'd raise when we start to talk about this as a definition is the customer centricity on this one. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of suggestions as we go through this. And again, after the presentation today, if you would like to have some of the handouts that we're sharing, then again, you just got to put your hand up and we're going to share those. And we can even reach out for a strategy session at the end of today if you want to take a deeper dive into what this looks like. So I can see as I'm going through my preamble, there's a fair few people that are dropping in now. So it's always nice just to know where you're coming from. So, drop us a location in the chat so I can see, whereabouts we're reaching. Say hi. Sam's in there, so Sam will be able to just, say hi back. Obviously, I'm chit-chatting, so I can't do that so much. So customer centricity. The first thing on that one is really it's getting an understanding of your customers, who they are, where they hang out, where they hang out in concentration, and what's the conversation they have. Now, you probably many of you will have heard about doing customer personas. So this is kind of like understanding your customers to a very specific level. Now, you can have a multitude of customer personas. I won't go massively, wide and varied on this one. But if you think now in terms of having that omni-channel approach, where on every channel, dependent on the persona that you're talking to, the message is the same. But it's a message that they hear, it's a message that they receive. Incredibly, incredibly important. The other point to note on here is the data integration. And this is, again, what the big businesses do. They call it big data for a reason. But you can do this. So you can capture, the data of those customers that are coming through from, I guess, the various platforms, the various touch points that you have. So someone, and again, most of us in business want to offer some value. Like today, you have shared with me your data today because you want me to share with you my insights and my experience and what I've learned and what we do in terms of our marketing and how we make our marketing work in that respect. Exactly the same. So, there are a multitude of different areas where you can create that data capture. So again, defining omnichannel marketing is about actually the richness of the data that is presented to you, and not allowing it to just slip through or do nothing with it. See, anybody who is willing to venture in and look at the value that you're offering, this is just the start of the conversation. This is just the moment where you can start to have that conversation going forward. But then you can have that conversation on multiple levels. Just again, go and have a look at the big names who you shop with. How many different platforms do they get engagement from you? I would be surprised if you're not getting SMS from them, if you're not getting WhatsApp messages from them, if you're not getting emails from them, if there's not a pop-up when you're actually on their platform where they're not actually presenting, and why don't you buy this as well? Add this to your basket. It happens to be something that you've been browsing. That's all omni-channel. It's all utilizing the data. And it doesn't need to be complex in terms of what you're doing, as we'll go on to see a little later on. Consistent messaging. Consistent messaging. This is kind of like, if we're going to build out an understanding of who your marketplace is and who you want to do business with, the point here is having an element of consistency in terms of the message that you share. The brand, we often talk about brand recognition now, but effectively, if we think about this in all of the different platforms, and that message that you're sending is the same in each, there's some consistency in terms of actually reaching your target market, whether you've segmented those targets, whether you've gone down and had a look at the persona. And it's, again, one of the documents I'll share with you today will give you some insights to that. Then you can start to actually have a message that resonates. How many of you have found yourself in a position where somebody has mentioned something on one platform that's resonated with you, and suddenly you've seen it somewhere else? And it's kind of the power of really good omnichannel marketing is the subconscious message that you're able to actually start to build here, because you turn up credibly on multiple of different channels as we go, but all of which sharing the same message. Now, that message isn't just a want and fire and forget, if you will. The message is something that you you build and you change, over the months and the seasons, so it's relevant to your marketplace. So if you're a grounds maintenance company, there's going to be a different message, but that message that month is going to be consistent across all of your channels. How many of you have gone onto a website and had a look and their blog was like 12 months old? They haven't had any updated, and actually, you go and see a blog, but there's nothing at all resonating on any of the social media platforms, or that's not been shared with you in a newsletter or anything of that nature. These are all the options that we're going to explore this afternoon. Okay, so one of the things here, some of you, I dare say, will have teams, and if you don't have internal teams, then you will have external teams. You'll have support elements. For a number of businesses that I work with, I'm not, directly in their team, but they see me as a support element outside of their business, and actually, I'm integrated into other areas. So, giving your teams the knowledge and the tools in order to, create this consistency in terms of how they treat your customers. So if we've got a message that's coming through loud and clear through your various channels, that seamless message has to then be delivered within the actual process of converting them and doing business with them. And that's something to really ensure that you maximize that opportunity. And the next piece I'll talk about will just reinforce that. The other thing that I would say when we're focusing on this one in terms of cross training your teams and just leveraging how you can have people have an impact on the omnichannel marketing. The vast majority of businesses that I speak to, when they look at that external engagement, when they look at actually bringing on someone to do their marketing for them, marketing agency, they tend to go with one marketer and hope that everything is done. As I will go on to show you on the Omnichannel, I think I'm going to share 7 different areas with you. One of the things to do is find out where people specialize. Because if you're able to build up a team of specialists that support you, or you're able to recruit a team of specialists that support you, then actually it means that the particular channels that you focus on are optimized to a higher level. So for instance, if you get somebody that is pretty mediocre at the website, at SEO, at pay-per-click, at meta search, those type of things, you're going to get a mediocre results. But if you get somebody who is an absolute star at search engine optimization, you've got somebody who's a really good copywriter, and suddenly what you have is 2 opportunities there, because you've got somebody who will write great content for you, and then somebody who will be able to actually optimize that content online. And we don't often think that way. Often what we do is we think they can do content for us and then they'll optimize it. And there are very different skills and skill sets associated to that. So it's definitely worthwhile just taking a view on that one. Okay. So moving on from that one, and again, it's then leveraging technology. So this is digital. So the whole point of digital is the fact that you're able to leverage technology. I guess just on the call today, who currently has a CRM? Who's got a CRM that they're actually using in their business right now today? Who's using that CRM to its maximum? Who's got a CRM that actually also creates sales funnels? Who's got a CRM that actually they know how to create forms and pop-ups on the website to capture data and detail and to encourage people to engage with you? Again, there's another area here where we can really optimize and leverage what you're doing with technology. Who's using, maybe a marketing calendar where you're able to actually, pre-plan a month's worth of posts and have a strategy that you're able to go in there and then respond to them accordingly when they come up, but you're not having to think about what your content plan is for the month. Artificial intelligence, chat GPT at the moment is obviously a huge topic of conversation, but it's also, when it's well used, an incredible tool to leverage your marketing reach. And now I think, you know, there's much debate and conversation about how that's going to go going forward. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, in Bing, you know, Microsoft own or have got really big shares in ChatGPT, so that's going to start turning up in the search engine. Google use Bard, and Bard is something, or yeah, Bard that they're using as their version of AI within Google search. So suddenly these tools are going to become much more available. So why shouldn't we use them in business? Absolutely. And I think it's going to, you know, go out there, and again, more than happy to jump on a conversation and you know, offer advice and guidance and experience in terms of what we've been doing and using them for. Integrated on e-commerce platforms. And the point here is this: the level of automation and integration, all of it lends itself towards you know, a optimizing and synchronizing your omni-channel marketing approach. The other bit that you're able to do on this one, again, and again, I think sometimes it can come across as a well, actually, it can come across as a bit of a dark art. It can come across as though it's voodoo magic. Is the regular review and adaptation of what's happening in terms of, you know, your digital presence. Google 4 or Google Analytics 4, whilst it looks incredibly complex, actually very quickly, if you go in there and, you know, actually have a look at the platform, you'll work out what that looks like in terms of your presence. And you again, you can plug in your digital presence to Google Analytics 4. Search engine console and your website, you know, you can plug your website into this, and actually you can then start to see, you know, what's the traffic looking like. So the point here is it allows you to actually test and measure quite seamlessly in terms of what's actually happening out there. Again, something I experience all too often, and something I've heard at, you know, a lot of times with you know, folks that are engaging with marketers, that you get a report at the end of the month, and the report will tell you click-through rates, it will tell you linger rates, it will tell you scroll rates, it will, you know, but what we really want is to have a look at the data that tells us that our phone is ringing, that tells us that we are getting emails coming through. Now, the reality is actually you can take a huge amount of ownership on this one with a little bit of education, and then start to tweak how your presence works in the, you know, in the omni-channel, in terms of, you know, throughout all of those different channels that you can utilize in marketing. So hopefully, just as a, I guess, as a bit of a preamble, a bit of a kickstart into you know, why omni-channel is so important. You're already out there. I'll be very surprised if any of you that are on the call today doesn't have a website, hasn't got social media. The fact of the matter is how do we then bring that together? How do we start to create that synchronized approach to a message that drives people to your shop front, that drives them to your website, that creates you know, and encourages people to get in touch, you know, with you in terms of you know, how you're functioning as a business, and capturing that data to engage. Okay, so I want to have I guess a bit of a chat about why omni-channel marketing. Well, you're also customers for I guess other businesses, whatever way that looks at. You know, you could be obviously the likes of Amazon, it could be online department stores, it could be supermarkets, and your experience, and as you go through, you have a level of expectation. And actually today, a lot of that is driven by their ability to communicate with you effectively through multiple channels. And for that message, there is a lot of work that goes on in terms of the you know, the subliminal messages that go out there, tapping into your subconscious. And bearing in mind that, you know, our engagement this afternoon, I'm engaging with 5% of your mind, which is your conscious mind. The reality is 95% of what you're doing is subconscious, and there's a whole different topic of conversation around that. But suffice to say, that's happening. And so where you get your omni-channel presence right, you can start to have similar impact on your customers, that you're able to, you know, just resonate with them in a way that actually they didn't realize it was even happening. Now, it's not skullduggery or anything of that nature. It's good marketing. It's just that the big players, they do it really well, but there is nothing to stop us from doing that well ourselves. So the other one is the ubiquity of devices. What do I mean by that? It sounds quite highfalutin, and to be fair, I just couldn't come up with a better word. There is a proliferation, a massive impact of smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, you know, and actually, I've got an iWatch or whatever they're called, and although it's on airplane mode at the moment, which is only appropriate for our call today, more often than not, Siri pipes up and offers something when I haven't asked it. I have an iPhone, and you know, suddenly I'll go and check my messages at an appropriate point in the day, only to then find that I've had a load of messages come through which I didn't ask for, and I hadn't knowingly given them my data or my details. You know, the laptop, you open up and then suddenly you go into, you know, a particular channel and they're messaging me on what I want but didn't know I wanted. You know, so there are so many devices. The fact of the matter here is that with an omni-channel approach, you can really start to impact across all of those devices. So again, that synchronicity of messaging, you know, it's the accessibility on you know, on a desktop is seamlessly you know, into a tablet, into a, you know, a smartphone, into a watch, you know, and let's not forget actually the advent of smart homes. You know, so your fridge and freezer now can start to talk to, you know, the supermarket directly. You can talk to your home with the likes of Amazon and Echo. So that side of it, again, is not outside of the realms of reality in terms of what you can do. So it's knowing that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we go onto the website a little later on. That's really, really important. Okay, the fragmented customer journey. A single purchase can now evolve into multiple channels. So you've probably experienced it yourself, where you've had something that's come up on one of your social media feeds that's led you down to a website, or led you to a landing page, or led you into a sales funnel where you've then, you know, scrolled down, and then suddenly as you're about to leave, you get a pop-up. This is that integration. You know, so the customer journey can be incredibly valuable when you start to look at how you can optimize that yourselves. Now, again, systemization is something we're going to talk about. In actual fact, we're going to talk about automation, but automation is something that you can have, you know, an impact on very simply with sales funnels and the like. And what about increased engagement? What about the ability to actually have conversation? You know, one of the things when social media first came out was the, you know, building the social conversation, being socially active on your social media. Well, now that's absolutely, you know, key in terms of the delivery of your omni-channel approach. You know, actually, the higher the engagement, the better the retention, because your customers can join your community. There's a big focus on social media, you know, something that you can do on Facebook without, you know, and grow organically in Facebook groups is build a tribe, build a following in terms of what it is you do, where you've got the ability to maybe jump on there and do live feeds, where you can share how-to videos, where you can offer step-by-step guides, where you can do webinars. You know, the webinar side of life, from where you're able to do these type of presentations, is infinitely open, you know, to your marketplace, to your customers, you know, to offer insight and new ideas and new launches, and have VIP clubs. Again, all of them across your platforms offer, you know, great integration in terms of what it looks like. And that means that your clients and your customers hang around longer. You know, just think for a moment, how tough is it to get a client right now? How tough is it to get a client right now? And then answer the question, how tough is it to keep them? Well, actually, if you've got high level of engagement and you know, people find the value of what you do, then they will hang around. And ultimately, what this means is we're going to boost our revenue. So our revenue is going to improve. That's what we're looking for. And you'll end up with a competitive advantage. The marketplace at the moment is a busy place, and I just think about now your competition. Maybe regionally, who's your competition? It could be nationally, who your competition is. But if you have a look at your competition now, how well are they doing this? Have they invested some time this afternoon to jump into this to actually see if there is some value in what they can do? And I'd be interested to know what that potentially looks like. So I think the point here is your customers are everywhere. There is a major diversity of platforms in terms of where and how you can optimize your presence, your omni-channel presence. There is the whole point here in terms of instant accessibility. So where you look at this in the context of we have pretty much limited patience nowadays, and in a world of demand and service and instant gratification, customers expect brands to be accessible at any time and anywhere. So being omnipresent ensures that you meet their expectations. You're where they need you to be when they need you to be there. The unified message that we talked about earlier on, whilst your customers might hop from one platform to another, they seek that message, that consistency, and that brand voice. And spreading, effectively spreading your marketing across all of these touch points ensures that consistency as we go forward. Enhanced touch points. So whilst each platform offers a different engagement, a different and probably unique way to engage, whether that may be captivating somebody on YouTube, telling a compelling story on Instagram, or an informative article on your website. Diversifying your channels maximizes the ability for those engagement opportunities, for those various touch points. And then the personalized experience, by being everywhere your customers are, by resonating in the multiple areas that your customers do, you can gather more information about your customers. And if you're able to gather more information about your customers, you can actually understand their preferences, what they're looking for, build those personas out so that what the topic of conversation you're able to have is specific, is tailored to their needs. And that makes a difference. One of the things to remember on this, when we look at the marketing in general, but if we get omni-channel marketing right, at the point somebody actually approaches you to make the sale, there's every opportunity. They're 80% of the way down through the marketing process and the 80% towards making the sale. In which case, by the time you've actually then got to talk to them, there's a good opportunity that they're already ready to say, ready to buy. So again, worthwhile looking at. And then leveraging trends. Different platforms have different, I guess, trending topics, different conversations, but you align them, to that consistent message that you're sending out. Although different formats, the message can remain the same. And it's, again, not every platform is going to be right for your business. So it's recognizing what platforms are right for you. Do your, target markets reside on LinkedIn, on a professional working platform, or do your target market reside on TikTok? When you start to look at that in that respect, then you can start to really have a focus on it. So in essence, I guess the way to look at it is the digital world is, in effect, it is without borders. There's not a limitation on your marketing channels that you can go around as long as they're specifically right for your business. And I think embracing the omni-channel landscape and ensuring your market resonates anywhere with your customers is absolutely the way forward. Okay, so the mothership. Your website is the center of the universe, of the digital universe. This is kind of like where we want people to go to. So the very first thing, and again, just a couple of tips on your website. do you find your website attractive? If you were a customer, would you engage in your website? Would it encourage you to, give you your data, to open up a conversation? It's a really interesting one when you start to look at that, and you know what a good website is because you'll be going and looking at them yourself. So when you look at your website, actually as a prospective customer of yourself, is it something that you would find of value? Would you go onto it? The other one to think about, I want you to think about this in the context of stop weeing on your customers, on your prospects. And what I mean by that is when we use we in our website. So if you go to your homepage, if you use we and I prolifically, and the focus of that opening website is how good you are, how good we are, how long we've been going, why we are the company of choice. Is that what your customers are looking for? Are they interested in that? Would you be interested in that if you go to another website? Versus, does your website, when somebody jumps onto it, immediately attracts their attention to the problem you're trying to solve or the problem they're trying to solve, and you just have the solution? So the website's pretty important in terms of how well it works and how well it's optimized, and that's something to really think about and to take a bit of an insight to. Okay, so let's just take a moment. If there's any questions, please fire them into the chat. I'm going to share with you now a document that will accompany this, this second phase of the webinar today. So let's just see if I can do this properly. So hopefully. Just let me know if that document has made itself available to you all. Let's have a look. Bear with me a moment. Okay, that's interesting. Files. Share a file. Share this file. Ignore. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if that file has actually made its way to being downloaded. So don't worry. What I'll do is I will send this one to you afterwards, because as I go through this next bit, there's a whole action piece that you can actually go through and do your own audit on your own omnichannel presence. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so let's start first of all then with let's start with the website. And I think it's worthwhile recognizing that statistically 97% of us start our sales journey on the internet. So again, it goes back to the reinforcing this whole omnichannel presence. So your website, your design and optimization. The point here is your website is about that traffic to sales. We want to attract that traffic, and through the omnichannel process, we want to actually drive that traffic to our website. Now, this next piece, in terms of, is your website mobile friendly? There is a vast array of mobile searches done on the phone today, and if your website isn't optimized to work on a phone, doesn't load quickly, you're going to lose a lot of business. So I think you can go and do, if you look onto Google and look at page optimization or something of that nature, you can actually go through to where Google will actually, speed test your website. But they'll speed test your website for its optimization to mobile platforms. And if you want to know how that works, on the top right-hand screen of the browser, where your website page, your homepage opens up. When you then shrink it, you can shrink it down to the size of a table and then actually shrink it down to the size of a mobile phone. If your phone or if your website follows and shrinks down accordingly, then you've got an optimized website. You've got something that will reshape itself and optimize itself for the necessary device. If it doesn't, and again, top tips on this ones are things like your written menu at the top will turn into what they call the beef burger, which is the 3 lines that people can then click on to follow the menu. If it doesn't, you're going to lose custom straight away. Content. Is your website rich with content? Do you have videos, images, iconography, infographics? There's a lot of opportunity to grab people's attention. Doesn't have to be massive on the written word. And actually, if you think about it, Google is predominantly recognized as the #1 search engine globally. The second largest search engine out there at the moment is YouTube. And who owns YouTube? Google. And what is YouTube all about? Video. So have you got video content on your website? And if you haven't, you can start to do that. And I've got to say, these things today are incredibly good at giving you cinematic quality, video. And indeed, the purchase of a very small mic and you get good quality sound as well. What type of site is it? Is it a content managed site on WordPress? Are you e-commerce? And again, does everything work? Is everything tested? Have you got robust systems in place to make sure that you haven't got broken links, that backlinks are working? Is the site static or dynamic? So is there, actually, dynamic animation and the like on your website? And what about gated content? So one of the things that you can do on this one, again, is if you've got gated content on your website, it means that someone's got to give you their details in order to access something of value. So they used to be called, and they probably are still called, money magnets. But effectively, you might have an ebook, a guide, a playbook, and something that actually, I want to have a read of that one. So in order to have a read of it, I'm going to give them my details and they will send me the download. It might be a strategy to actually apply. It could be a marketing, plan of action, whatever the case may be. Pop-ups, do you have pop-ups on the website? And the final one there, again, drop me an email after today if you'd like a site audit, and we'll get a site audit done for you so that you can actually see just how well your site is operating with quite a level of detail. So the very, very first thing is to focus on making sure that your website is fit for purpose and it's fit to support an omnichannel approach. And to be fair, websites are, a constant source of time and effort. But if you structure a little bit of time into this one, or you talk to your marketer, whoever is your web designer, and have this conversation, and again, the document that I'll share with you will take you through these questions, and have that conversation with them, you'll find a huge amount of value that comes out from that. Okay, so the next area of omnichannel is when we look at search engine optimization. And this really, again, it's often seen as a bit of a black art, but search engine optimization is really about recognizing, Google is always looking for high quality content, and what it relevant to your industry, your service, your product. There will be certain either keywords or long tail keywords, which is just a phrase that are going to be valuable. So for instance, for me in my industry, business coaching is highly sought after as a keyword. And in order to optimize on search engine optimization, I need to then be able to use that keyword appropriately. But here's the rub. They say, generally speaking, you only really use a keyword on one page at a time. So I couldn't have business coaching on multiple pages because Google will just be able to see, and their bots will scrape through the website and realize that actually just trying to get everything up there on one keyword. So you've got to really careful and have some insight as to what that looks like. So again, this is where an expert of SEO can come in, because they can advise you on the keywords. But if you want to have a look at what some of the search criteria are with regards to keywords, then there's a website called Ask the Public, and you can go on there and do 2 or 3 searches. So you can put a word or a phrase at the top, and it will tell you what people are searching for. So it's called Ask the Public, and then you can actually test out some of the keywords. And then there are multiple different, software applications that you can utilize to actually go and do some keyword research. So knowing your keywords is really important, and then obviously remaining up to date with those keywords. Part of this as well is that focusing on that user experience. So making sure that the whole topics, the content that you're sharing, creates that engagement from somebody who's reading it. So again, search engine optimization is about making sure that the content and the copy you're putting up there is palatable. So again, goes back to the fact that, do we want to read long passages? Is it kind of like a book we want to read, or do we want something with multiple headings that very quickly captures my attention, that very quickly I can hone in terms of, I can have a quick look at what's going on there and then look at where I actually want to read into the detail? So we're making it easier. We're making the user experience easier. Backlinks and internal links, rich content are all absolutely key. And the other one here is the metadata. And the metadata is all about having those keywords, written within phrases, within subject lines, within preview text, that becomes searchable on Google. Now, I want to just make sure I'm really clear at this point as well. So Google, we know, is kind of like the #1 search engine out there. But you've also got Bing, and it's actually known as Edge, which is now Microsoft Office's browser. Now, if you think about this, how many, and again, it depends on your target market, but how many of companies use Office 365? Creatives and marketers will all be on iOS. They'll all be on Chrome and Firefly and Firefox and all that. But there's a whole raft of people that in their workplace will probably be using Bing. Now, the point here is, all right, but the most people use Google. That's fine. But even if it's only 5, 10 or 15% of the users that are using Bing, think of the numbers. Think of your town. If your town is, 20,000 people and 10% are using Bing, that means that 2,000 people are using Bing that you otherwise wouldn't have contacted. So when you look at this, it's kind of like, make sure that you're optimized for both. And I'll probably talk about that a little bit more in a little detail a little later on. So social media, which channels? There are so many channels out there for you to utilize. And the other side of this one as well is there are so many ways in which to use each channel. So you've got boosts, ads, pages, groups, business page, profiles. When you start to look at it live, you can do live feeds. You can put events on. So actually, when you start to look at the channels, it's not just a case of, I'll be on Facebook. It's like, how do I want to utilize Facebook? What's the best way to utilize Facebook? For instance, setting a group up on Facebook is a great way to create organic growth with a group of customers and prospects that really get what you do and want to dive onto that. Go and have a look at, I've got one up there. It's Business Shouldn't Be This Tough. And it's a Facebook group, a few hundred people on there. But the point is that we want to generate its own momentum. So again, go and have a look. And by all means, join the group. I'd love to have you on board. Scheduling. When we look at the scheduling side of life, this is really about you've probably heard of software of Hootsuite or Publer. You've got the ability to offer the value that you do, and again, that consistency across your channels through actually scheduling posts. Now, don't just have one post and schedule it across all of your social media platforms. You've got to remember that whilst there needs to be consistency in the message can be relayed differently from one platform to the next. So you might relay the message, professionally on LinkedIn, but it may well be that when you then go to Twitter, it's kind of like 260 words, a series of hashtags, but short and to the point, although it's not now so short and to the point. And likewise on Instagram, it may be that you share your message in a story, in which case it's there for 24 hours. So just be really clear on what platforms are going to work for you. And that links really closely to that next point of understanding your audience. Hashtags have now gone just from Twitter. They are now across all of them, all of the platforms. So, using a hashtag is incredibly valuable to reach a wider audience. So if you're putting hashtags into a post, where do you use them? Interestingly, you can use hashtags and tags in your blogs for the same type of criteria, so that actually, if people are searching for particular areas or people are looking for particular regions, again, they can find your content, your information really quite quickly. Now, the point here, and this is kind of interesting, and this does now also link into Google, stop the scroll. Is there something that you can do on a post that is attention grabbing? Now, I always caution here not to be, create, what's the word? You don't want to stand out for the wrong reasons, but what you want to do is to grab somebody's attention in terms of actually, that's pretty interesting, or that's quite amusing. You don't necessarily need to be contentious. I always avoid that. We don't need that in business, unless your business is kind of like BBC News or something, in which case you maybe have a different focus. But stop the scroll is something that actually stops people to have a look at what it is you're doing. Brand authority, and I did mention the scroll actually. Notice Google has now got more of an infinite scroll. You can now scroll down the Google first page for quite some time. So where we were looking at page 1, page 2, the paid ads are still at that same conjuncture, that same point. So you'll go down, scroll down, paid ads, scroll down, paid ads, but you can keep scrolling. That's going to be quite interesting to see how that turns up in terms of the marketing. Brand authority, personal, business, trusted. The being recognized by your customers. Getting your customers up there talking about you is such a great way. LinkedIn has testimonials, Trustpilot and other platforms of that nature, where you can really optimize that level of relationship and trust in the marketplace. Videos we talked about and reels going live. The map side of life on Google as well is something to really think about, and both on Edge and Google. And again, all of that can then link straight back to your social media platforms, your social media profiles. And I mentioned earlier on not about not weeing on the prospects. Same again. Don't make this about you. Make this about solving the problem that your customers have. So the point here is, again, we're creating and collecting data. Now, I'm going to guess and make the assumption that you probably already got detail. You've already got data of the people that you've been talking to. So in this case, what about email newsletters? What about actually, creating value with a regular newsletter? And if you want to actually have a look at a really great place to do that, go and have a look at the LinkedIn newsletter, where you can send out a LinkedIn newsletter. Now, the interesting point on that is it goes to your connections inbox, not their LinkedIn profile. So think about that for a moment. So it's sent from a safe location, sent by LinkedIn, but it's going into their inbox. So you can send value directly into your LinkedIn connections if they subscribe to your newsletter. So how many people have you got on LinkedIn that you could immediately start to communicate with? How many people are in your database right now that you could immediately start to communicate with? Hopefully that makes sense. The point on these as well is you can also build in a lot of other value. So you can build in offers where people can jump onto that one, and as I'll go on to talk about next, they can jump straight into an automated conversation and have an impact in that respect. I'd always, just think here as well. So we often talk about, data and GDPR, and it's been a big topic, and it means an appropriate topic. But always think about legitimate interest. If someone is showing legitimate interest in what you do, then it is fine to send them through that information and have a conversation with them. If they shared their details with you and they're looking at getting a fair exchange of value, and that's the phrase that I always use, a fair exchange of value. You're not looking to spam them with anybody else. A lot of the big companies do third party where they sell your data on. That's not what we're about here. It's about that fair exchange of value to a database. And the point just to take from that is you've got a database right now. And if you're not sending them a newsletter, or you're not sharing an email campaign, regularly, and that could be monthly or quarterly, then you're missing an opportunity. Great way to have a look at it. Top tip for this one, by the way, create the customer matrix. So whatever it is you do, whether you're a service business or a product business, down one side, list all of your customers. Across the top, list everything that you offer your customers and sell your customers, and then work out actually and segment who am I not selling certain value to that I know could use it. Suddenly you've got a segmented list that you can start to resonate with and send out that offer straight away. Now you can do that tomorrow with the data that you got right now, if you're not doing it already. Sales funnels. So again, this is where you can start to use automation, and some CRMs will have it in, others don't. But what you can create here is a series of triggered events that someone will jump into, having a conversation with you, and you can take them through a sales process. You can offer them information, you can offer them insight, you can give them value, and all the while it takes them to a point where they could schedule a meeting with you, they could have a conversation with you, they could pick up the phone, they may, if you sell products, if you've got e-commerce, they may just straight buy from you there and then. And that's really the ultimate when we look at the omnichannel side of life, is how cool would it be that people are either paying a deposit to what you do, or they're buying whilst you're asleep. That's the ultimate. So sales funnels. Now there is a specialism to obviously creating sales funnels, but again, within CRMs, you'll find that they will have education to teach you how to do it and take you through that process. Paid advertising. So we've talked about Google, and at the top you have pay per click. Again, a specialist area here to focus on, but go and talk to somebody who does pay per click, or go into LinkedIn, go into Facebook, and actually you'll have on Facebook, you'll have a Meta account, and you can start to put paid ads in. So step by step, follow the instructions. There may be something that you're looking at, you could have a campaign that's about building brand awareness, that's about increasing the people that you're connected to, or about actually selling a product or a service or something that you do. But have a look at actually the paid criteria, paid advertising, not just pay per click on Google and Bing, but look at social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and have a look in terms of actually, are there areas there that I can focus on? And again, an opportunity here to collect data, because if you pay for people to engage with you, you can build a database that way. You can build greater connectivity. One of the things that we ran for this event is we put some funding behind Eventbrite. So Eventbrite actually made sure that our ad was showed to the right people in order to attract the right people to jump on to today's call, which I'm pleased they did. Okay, the penultimate one then is really looking at tracking and nurturing. This is about the analysis side of life. And the fact with omnichannel marketing is so rich in data that you're able to actually monitor and look at what's going on. Now, again, I think it's more than achievable to go and jump onto Google Analytics 4 or search engine or search console and have a play around. Set an account up, have a look at how you're doing, go and get some of the lessons off of YouTube and that. But ultimately, if you want to really optimize this and you're not skilled in this area, then this is where you go talk to a marketer and somebody who is key. If somebody who knows how to do SEO and pay-per-click will absolutely know how to do the analytics at the back end. But you just want to know, am I getting the traffic? is that traffic, heading, and am I seeing an uptick in terms of the calls and the phones and the emails and the messages that I'm getting as a result? Is there a higher level of engagement? If I'm an online business and I'm making online sales, am I actually seeing sales increase? The data, if you measure what you manage, you're going to get better results. And you can see there are multiple different ways in which you can then start to have an impact across the content that you're sending out, the messaging that you're sending out, the way in which you're resonating with your target audience, the way you can modify your target audience. There is such a richness to data here. It can have a massive impact in terms of actually seeing the return on investment in your marketing. That's ultimately what this is all about. Well, look, we've got about 5 minutes or so left. My challenge, I guess, was trying to put the documents up. So what I am going to do is send you those documents by email, because you've shared your emails with me. Okay, so any questions at all, or observations or key takeaways from today's session? And if anybody would like a strategy session, more than happy to do that. And the other thing that I'm also going to send you is kind of like, we've got a quick marketing template, and I've got a slightly more comprehensive marketing template, which I'm happily going to send through to you as well. So if you've got any questions, please drop them in the box now, and Sam will be able to give you any of the insight, or not, give me the nudge to answer the question for you. So any questions, anything of that nature, that'd be amazing. Let's have a look. I think I probably bamboozled you all with science for the last hour. That's all cool. I'll also make this recording available to you as well, so you'll be able to actually go through this one. But the document that accompanies the second half of this presentation will actually, it's a form or a sheet you can fill out as an audit to create a plan of action of how you can go about, optimizing your omnichannel presence. So that'd be pretty cool. So I don't think we're seeing anything coming in at the moment. Okay. Well, look, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you found some value in terms of what we've discussed and what I shared with you. Really do take a look at the omnichannel. Oh, there are, thanks for that, Leanne. There are some challenges with putting this in, but if you plan this over the next couple of months of how you're going to actually go about it, you'll probably have a really, really good impact. And what better time to do it as we lead up towards the end of one year and the launch into the next. But yeah, if there is no questions today, and you've had that value, I'm gonna let you all disappear, and thank you again for your attendance, your participation. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.